7 times. But that's a long way down. But that's later when I was 40 and 50 years old. We should let somebody else, yes. Did you have one?
Why did you start wrestling?
Why did I start? That's a good question. I was in a very little town of only 2,000 people. And this is before television, and I know my 10-year-old grandson can't believe there was life before television. We didn't have a lot of things to do in the community, and I think some of the parents and friends of our parents were leaders. So I think it was a good activity for us to be involved in. And I think I wanted to learn more skills too. I mean, when I was 15 and I met this woman and learned about the United Nations and so on, it was very eye-opening and expanding for me. I learned a lot about the world. Yes?
What was your favorite thing you did when you were Girl Scouts?
It probably was camping. I loved to camp. I really did. I enjoyed it very much. And while we did the badges, I think we did most of the badges as a troop. I don't recall other than that. Yes.
What encouraged you to start Girl Scouts?
I think my parents probably did. My dad had been a Boy Scout and my mother had been a Girl Guide, and there was something else she was in that was where they dressed up like Indian princesses. I can't honestly remember the name of it. But both of them had done that, and my father had grown up on a farm, and so he thought so much of the Boy Scouts. Does someone else have a question? I'm happy to answer when more hears, but is there somebody else who has another one? Okay, ask away.
Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much did you like Girl Scouts?
Oh, I enjoyed it thoroughly. I would say I put it right up there to 10. I really thought it was fun and I enjoyed doing things. Yes.
I don't have a question, I'm stretching.
Oh, you're stretching. I understand. Yes.
What was your most favorite part of Girl Scouts?
In addition to the camping, I really liked canoeing. I have to say that. And that was, again, we were in the country really, and we learned we had a canoe and we learned how to canoe. And that's not something that everybody would have access to, but I really liked that. Yes.
Is there a troop leader that you remember?
I do remember her very much. Her name was Michaela. Believe it or not, I can remember her name. And we called her Dr. Mike. I don't think she was a doctor, but she was particularly the leader in these summer camps and on this trip we went on where we built the latrine and the poison ivy. So she was maybe a professional scout. I'm not sure what her status was, but she often wore the backpack because it was too heavy for lots of us. The wicker basket that was about 5 feet tall. Yes.
Why do you think girls should do Girl Scouts today?
I think it's a good question. I think it's good to learn how to do things with other people. I think all the beliefs about how it crosses countries and worlds, and something I saw you're thinking about people in other countries. And I think you're exposed to a lot of those things, as well as people who might be very different from you, and learn about cultures and values. Again, that woman, Karen Von Jensen, was very eye-opening to me, because here was someone whose parents affected the world and who was involved in things. And I think learning a civic responsibility and a duty to your community and to other people, the old stories about the Boy Scouts helping the old lady across the street. I think you do things to help people, and that's good to learn, and I think we don't learn that enough in our maybe communities and families. I know today in colleges are having programs to help you do more for your community, so I think that's real good. Yes.
Alright, so what was your favorite camping trip?
That roundup probably is right up there, the one in Colorado Springs. I mean, we did go by, I think we went by train, so we didn't camp all the way there. But once we got there, we had this huge complex and we had big places. Otherwise, it was in our local neighborhood. That was fun, but this was exciting because it was so many different people.
Do you remember any of your friends that were in Girl Scouts with you?
I do. Actually, one of them that just sent me that little piece of stationery is still my friend, and I also have, I remember almost all of them. It was a very small community. I had only 52 people in my high school graduating class, and I think many of those girls are still my friends, believe it or not. That's probably not the usual kind of experience, but I have kept in touch with many of them. Yes?
Were you ever a leader?
No, I was never a leader.
Would you like to be?
I could help, I could assist, how's that? I don't want to rush into being one because I have just retired recently from teaching at college, and so I'm doing some more traveling, but I think it's great that you do your trips, and that's a good question. Yes?
Was Camp Conestoga around when you were a Girl Scout?
It's in Iowa,
It's in
north of
Iowa.
Walcott.
North of Wolcott. It could have been, I do not know, because you don't understand, we have one car in our family, and my father was the local doctor, so he used it all the time, so we didn't travel too much. He was very, very busy a good part of the time, so I honestly don't know. Yes?
So how many camping trips do you think you've had? Or has somebody already?
Well, so how many years I think it was
I did.
related? With Girl Scouts, you're asking, right?
Yeah.
With Girl Scouts. Lots, probably 20 would be a safe guess. Are you still stretching, or do you have a question?
I'm stretching and asking your question.
Okay, okay.
Okay. So when you were in Girl Scouts, I forgot. Sorry.
That's okay, that's okay, yes.
How many patches did you earn?
Well, I could count them here. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 15 it looks like.
I noticed some of them on there have embroidery around the edge, and others look like they've been cut.
I know.
I don't know if maybe you had a different sash and then you,
No, I'm wondering if over time, yes, you're
It just-
absolutely right.
the style
I mean,
changed?
The style changed, because I don't think I cut them out. I think that, we had to sew them on. I might have earned one for sewing at some point too, because I did do that through 4-H. But yes, now that you say that, I see that. I can pass this around if you wanna look at it. It's held up amazingly well. If you wanna see it, and she has brought a book which tells about some of them. Did you remember your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
What was your favorite badge to earn?
I noticed there's one there for books, and knowing that I taught a good part of my life, I read a lot in 4th grade, and I would, again, no TV, not too many other after-school activities, and I would come home from school and I'd read a book, and I'd read a book at night, and I like to read a lot. So that might be one of my favorites. I probably had several. Yes.
So how many people do you think were in your troop?
I think we had about a dozen. Yeah. Yeah.
close to us.
Yeah. What?
Were you an only child?
No, I have 2 sisters. Yeah. Yes.
Did they do Girl Scouts?
Oh, darn.
They
this
did.
is my question.
They did. They did. I don't think they stayed with it quite as long as I did. I think that we moved in there somewhere. I had finished high school, but one of my sisters was just starting high school, and we moved from this rural area to Columbia, Missouri, where my father took a job teaching medical students at the university. And it was a big shock for my sisters at the age of 3rd grade and going into freshman year in high school. And I don't think they kept up with it after that, after the move. I think in this large community, it wasn't an activity, and I think that things changed a lot for my family. But I also was off to college, so I don't know for certain, but they did up until then. Yes.
I forgot again.
Okay.
Do you think Girl Scouts was more popular then than
I think that parents and children have so many choices today. It's difficult to stress why one should be more important than another. And we're having this with our grandson who's in Boy Scouts, but he says that people make fun of him because he wears his uniform, or he wants to do sports. And he has this feeling he's gonna have to choose between sports and Scouts, because maybe they meet the same night. So I think one problem is that it was certainly popular then because it was something a small community stressed, and we had an unusual small community in that there was a printing plant there, and there were lots of people that cared about the town and had been founding members practically, and everybody pitched in and did things. And I think today people are so busy, maybe commuting for their job, that it's hard to have the time to make time to do these things. So popular is a hard word to look at. I think in smaller towns, this is something my husband has said, he thinks Scouts are stronger. Does that answer?
She's from Knoxville, which is a smaller town.
And I've heard
Several of
Knoxville-
them are.
And Knoxville is very strong in Scouts,
Uh-huh.
as I understand it.
Knox County is.
I have a Knoxville shirt on.
I do.
Yeah, I mean, I wish it were more important, and I've seen the struggles, and I saw the struggles with my own daughter, who wasn't as interested in being in scouting. And partly because there were not leaders and there were not people, this was in northern Arizona, and there were not leaders and there were not troops, and it was not important in that town. And there wasn't even a group she could join, although I encouraged her to think about it. So I think it depends on the community, I would say. Yes.
Oh, I don't know why I'm asking this, but I ask almost every teacher this. Did you write a book?
I did write a book.
Okay, then that's the first answer.
I wrote a book about teaching writing at the college level, and we tried to incorporate a lot of ideas. Part of my job required me to write books and articles and get them published, so I have done that. Yes.
So what was your favorite book when you were younger?
That's a good question. I have to think about this for a while. How young? I mean, like early reader or later reader?
How old are you?
13.
Okay. So who's your favorite author right now, would you say? I'm trying to remember what I read when I was 13.
I think the person who wrote Hunger Games.
Oh, okay, okay.
I know you so well, Leah.
Yeah. You have a question? You think about it, that's fine, you can ask me, yes.
What was your book about?
Well, it's not a fictional, made-up story. It's actually some techniques to use at the college level to get people to incorporate writing into all their classes. When I went to school, if you took a history class, if you took an English class, if you took sociology, you wrote papers, and you wrote a lot of papers, and you wrote all the time. And so writing was just a way you learned. So it's a kind of a theoretical book about writing across the curriculum and how you could use it in your classes. So it might put you to sleep, I have to tell you the honest truth. It might not be one that would keep you awake at night. I'm still trying to think of your answer to that question. I know. Wow, what did I read when I was 14 and 15? I remember when I was 17 and 18, I discovered Ayn Rand, and we were moving, and I read that before I left. I read probably a lot of classic books, like authors that you would take in an English class, and more of those than maybe people have to read today. Because having taught English, I find a lot of my students don't read something by Dickens or something by authors. In fact, at the college level, when I would get people at 18, they didn't want to read certain books I wanted them to read. So what was your question? You had another one? Okay, that's all right, think about it.